Throughout the 1980s, firefighters in England kept noticing something strange. They would arrive at homes completely engulfed in flames, walls collapsing, furniture reduced to ash. Yet one object always remained untouched: a painting. Not just any painting. It was always the same one. A portrait of a young boy, his eyes filled with sadness. The crying boy. At first it seemed like a bizarre coincidence. But as more houses burned, and the same painting was found again and again, completely unharmed, people started to believe something darker was at play. The crying boy was part of a series of paintings created by an Italian artist named Giovanni Bragolin in the 1950s. His artwork depicted various sad, crying children, but for some reason, this particular version became strangely popular in the UK during the 1970s and 1980s. Thousands of copies were printed and sold in department stores, hanging in homes across the country. Nobody thought twice about it. That is until the fires started. In nearly every case, the painting itself had not a single burn mark on it. The eerie coincidences piled up. People started speculating that the painting was cursed in some sort. Some claimed that once you brought the painting into your home, disaster would follow. Then, in 1985, the British newspaper The Sun published an article about the painting. The article told the stories of multiple families whose homes had burned down. Every single one of them had owned the painting. It featured interviews with firefighters who refused to keep the painting in their own homes out of fear. One even claimed he had tried to burn it himself, but the flames wouldn't touch it. The fear became so intense that people started throwing out their paintings. Some even burned them in public gatherings, hoping to break the curse. The Sun later organized a mass burning event, inviting people to send in their crying boy paintings so they could be destroyed once and for all. Even today, there are those who refuse to keep a crying boy painting in their home, just in case. Theories ranged from the painting being cursed to bizarre theories where people claimed that the boy was an orphan whose parents had died in a fire and did this to take revenge. Now, of course, these are just theories, but let's come to the actual possible explanation of the cause for this mystery. There's a valid explanation which mentions that the prints were treated with a varnish containing fire retardant, and that the string holding the painting to the wall would be the first to deteriorate, resulting in the painting landing face down on the floor. At the end, many such theories still float around the painting, but what truly is the reason for these fires in all these houses still remain a mystery. In 2011, Jack Froese, a 32-year-old man from Pennsylvania, passed away suddenly due to an undiagnosed heart arrhythmia. His unexpected death left his family and friends grieving, trying to come to terms with the loss of someone so young and full of life. However, in the months following his death, something deeply unsettling began to occur. People close to Jack started receiving emails from his email address. It all began in November 2011. Several months after Jack's passing. His close friends and family members, including his best friend Tim Hart, began receiving messages that appeared to be from Jack's own email account, an account that had been inactive since his death. What was particularly chilling was the content of these emails. They weren't generic or vague. They were deeply personal and often referenced private conversations that only Jack and the recipients would have known. In some instances, the emails even seemed to be responding to events that had occurred after Jack's death, such as birthday messages and memorials in his honor. One of the most notable emails was sent to Tim Hart, Jack's best friend. The email seemed to come directly from Jack's address, with the subject line simply saying, "Hey Tim." Inside, the message read, "Hey Tim, I'm at peace now. I'm in a better place. Don't worry about me. Take care of my dog, buddy. I'll always be with you." This was followed by personal details about their lives and inside jokes that Jack and Tim had shared. These were not general or random messages. They were specific and incredibly detailed. The emails continued, with others receiving similar messages that only Jack could have known about. Jack's family, his friends, and even a few acquaintances all started to receive communication from his email address. The nature of the emails was so personal and eerie that it was impossible for anyone to ignore and explain the strange situation. One of the most puzzling aspects of the emails was that they were sent from an account that should have been inaccessible. Jack's family had access to his email and confirmed that the account was deactivated after his death. They also stated that Jack's computer was left in a state where it would have been impossible to send out the emails from his computer or phone. This led to widespread speculation, with some people claiming that the emails were evidence of something supernatural. On the other hand, others speculated that the emails were the result of a technical glitch or some sort of delayed message system. Some believed that perhaps Jack had scheduled the messages ahead of time, or that a hacker had gained access to his account. However, the timing of the emails, their personal nature, and the details they contained made these theories seem highly unlikely. The idea that Jack had somehow foreseen his death and prepared these messages in advance felt improbable to many. To this day, this case remains unsolved. In the early days of the internet, before social media, before viral trends, there was Usenet. Usenet was one of the first online forums, a place where people discussed everything from science to conspiracy theories. It was a wild west of the internet, filled with conversations, debates, and information exchange. But in 1996, something strange appeared on Usenet, something that nobody could explain. A series of bizarre, nonsensical messages began flooding discussion boards. These messages contained random words strung together, forming sentences that made no sense. The subject line of every post was the same. It was titled, "Markovian Parallax Denigrate." And then, just as mysteriously as they appeared, the messages stopped. People who saw the messages described them as gibberish. They contained seemingly random words, thrown together with no clear meaning. The messages weren't just posted once or twice. They flooded Usenet. Hundreds of them appeared across different discussion groups, spamming conversations and confusing users. The phrase Markovian Parallax Denigrate didn't seem to mean anything, but the word Markovian stood out. It referred to Markov chains, a mathematical system used to predict patterns based on probability. The term is often associated with computer algorithms and cryptography. Some began to suspect the messages weren't random at all. Over the years, several theories have emerged about what Markovian Parallax Denigrate really was. One theory suggests that these posts were created by a malfunctioning chatbot. If someone programmed a bot to generate random sentences based on a Markov chain algorithm, it could have accidentally flooded Usenet. But here's the weird part. This happened in 1996. AI chatbots weren't widely available back then. If this was an AI experiment, it would have been years ahead of its time. Others believe the messages weren't random at all, but encoded communications. Some suspect they were spy messages used by intelligence agencies or secret organizations to communicate in a way that looked like gibberish to outsiders. Another idea is that it was the result of a technical error, a server malfunction that caused old messages to get scrambled and reposted. Just as mysteriously as they appeared, the messages stopped. No one knows why. The phrase Markovian Parallax Denigrate never showed up again. Today, the mystery remains unsolved. Some believe it was just nonsense, while others are convinced it was something bigger, something we were never meant to understand. So, was it a failed experiment? A secret code? Or just one of the internet's first unsolved mysteries? Whatever the truth is, one thing is certain: the internet never forgets. In the early 2000s, internet users exploring unsecured security cameras stumbled upon something deeply unsettling: a small, cluttered room with a woman inside. She barely moved, often lying in odd, uncomfortable positions for hours, sometimes even for days at a time. Her name was Chip Chan, and her story would become one of the strangest mysteries of the internet. What made this even weirder was that Chip Chan seemed to be completely unaware that she was being watched. The camera broadcasting her room was never turned off. The feed, which was linked to an open IP surveillance network, remained live for years, showing Chip Chan's daily life, if you could even call it that. Viewers noticed disturbing patterns. She rarely left the room, she almost never spoke, and she slept at odd hours, sometimes for extremely long periods, far beyond what's normal. Her room was messy, filled with clutter and handwritten notes, and the entire atmosphere felt unnervingly eerie. Then, people started noticing signs that something was very wrong. Over time, internet users who followed the streams began spotting bizarre handwritten messages around her room. Some were written in Korean, and when translated, they hinted at a terrifying story. According to these notes, Chip Chan claimed that she was being held captive by a corrupt police officer she referred to as P. She claimed that P had implanted a microchip inside her body, which he used to control her movements and thoughts. The mystery of Chip Chan quickly spread across the internet, and people began forming different theories about what was really happening to her. Some believed Chip Chan was genuinely being held against her will, possibly as a victim of abuse or captivity. But then question rises. If that were the case, why was she being streamed on an open security feed? Another theory was that Chip Chan wasn't actually imprisoned. She was simply mentally ill. The belief that someone has implanted a chip in their body to control them is a common symptom of paranoid schizophrenia or delusional disorder. The most extreme theory was that Chip Chan was actually telling the truth. Could she really have been implanted with a microchip? Could she have been a victim of secret government experiments? While this theory sounds far-fetched, the eerie nature of her broadcasts, her erratic behavior, her cryptic messages, and the fact that no one ever seemed to help her, made some people wonder if she really was a prisoner of something bigger. Despite years of speculation, nobody truly knows what happened to Chip Chan. The live feeds continued for over a decade, though they became harder to find. She was occasionally seen moving around her room, still displaying the same odd behavior. The mystery of Chip Chan remains one of the most disturbing internet enigmas, a strange mix of surveillance horror, conspiracy, and paranoia. To this day, we may never know if she was truly trapped or if she was just a prisoner in her own mind. Imagine stumbling across a grainy old VHS-style video where a young man, jittery and nervous, explains in detail how to steal bones from graves. His hands shake as he holds a human skull, and he speaks in a rushed, almost paranoid manner, as if he's afraid someone might be watching him. This is the video titled "Grave Robbing for Morons," one of the most disturbing and mysterious videos ever found on the internet. But the biggest question remains: who is this man? The low-quality footage features a young man, probably in his late teens or early 20s, wearing a t-shirt and jeans. He has speech impediment, stumbling over his words. But his message is clear. He is giving a tutorial on how to rob graves. He explains how to locate burial sites, how to dig up bodies, and even how to remove skulls and bones without damaging them. At one point, he holds up an actual human skull, turning it around in his hands as he explains how to identify and clean it. His tone is unsettling, sometimes serious, sometimes almost bragging, as if he's done this before. But the most disturbing part? He never fully explains why he's doing this. The biggest mystery surrounding this video is the identity of the man in the video. Over the years, many theories have circulated. Some believe the young man was a real criminal, involved in grave robbing, either for ritualistic purposes, personal collection, or to sell bones on the black market. In some countries, there's an underground trade for human remains, especially skulls, which can sell for thousands of dollars. But if this was the case, why would he film himself and expose his methods? Another theory suggests that this was just a prank or an edgy video made by a disturbed teenager trying to shock people. But then, where did he get the real skull? Some people have wondered if the video is fake, just an eerie piece of underground horror filmmaking. Its raw, unpolished feel has led some to compare it to found footage horror movies like The Blair Witch Project. But if it was staged, why does it feel so genuinely unsettling? And why has nobody claimed responsibility for making it? For years, internet sleuths have tried to track down the origins of the video. Some claim it first appeared in the early 2000s, passed around in obscure forums before making its way to YouTube. Others believe it dates back to the late 80s or early 90s, possibly as part of a VHS tape that was never meant to be seen publicly. There were even rumors of a second tape, a continuation where the man goes into even more detail. But no such footage has ever been found. No one has ever been able to confirm the man's identity, whether the video is authentic or if it's just an elaborate hoax. But one thing is certain: the way he talks, the way he moves, and the fact that he's holding a real skull makes this one of the most unnerving videos ever found on the internet. To this day, no one knows for sure, and maybe we never will.